Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Journal. My name is Doug, and we've got a special extra video for you this weekend, previewing and looking into a prospective signing coming to the club, Youssef Chermiti. Chermiti is a sort of a attacking player, striker, and we're going to be, as I say, getting a little bit of a look under the hood behind who this player is and how he might be able to contribute to Rangers a little bit more than just maybe some of the stats and things that you might have looked at yourselves. We're very thankful to have joining us today Ryan, who I've totally cut off the screen there. There we go. Ryan Williams, who's joining us this evening. Ryan is also known as Ryan Soccer AA on X or Twitter. He's a professional football scout, part of the Blue Frontier, which is an American Everton podcast that you can find on YouTube and across various other socials, including Discord and Blue Sky. He's a man of many letters as well, after his name. He is a Professional Football Scout Association at Level 2 Talent ID. He has United States Soccer Federation coaching qualifications as well as being a CBA, MBA, and MIM. So all of the things. So we're very glad to have Ryan with us tonight. Hi, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I really wish that all those financial and accounting credentials were not necessary in modern football. But Doug, I feel like they've become more and more prominent as we've gone along. Not intentional.
Absolutely. I think it's amazing how I can remember when all that mattered was the football pitch, but now there's just everything that surrounds it. But
I know. But yeah, it's nice to actually take a little time off from scouting duties as a sign to talk a little bit more senior level football as opposed to some of the lower leagues and stuff that I've been watching. And Youssef Chermiti, I think, is a really interesting player that it seems like a lot of people would naturally be skeptical about, right? Because you just don't see any output, right?
Yep. I think that's the thing. I've got some details of him, which should come up in a wee second. Get that one out of the way. There we go. So I've got we slide some of his stats from the last couple of seasons, or primarily 23-24, where he had most of his appearances for Everton. So he's come from Sporting, obviously signed for Everton 23-24, and has since played about 24 games. No goals and no assists, which on the face of it will be the concern, I think, for most people, if he's going to come in and be one of our primary strikers. We have just signed Bojan Miovski, which was announced earlier today. So he would be coming in to be the primary competition for our main slot. I think Cyril Dessers is probably likely to be sold before the end of the window. Just got a couple of sort of primary stats there, a couple of pros and cons that I've kind of seen from what I looked at. So yeah, we're just hoping to get you to expand on that a little bit. But first of all, if we just get you to cast your mind back to 23-24 when he was on Everton's radar, what was the kind of thoughts on him at that point, sort of before he actually joined? And were you guys excited by the prospect of him coming in?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, not a lot of people knew of him. I mean, he had broken through into the first team at Sporting, so that's no easy feat at age 19. Honestly, Doug, to kind of take you back there for Everton, I mean, Everton were cash strapped. They had no ability to really pay money up front. They went through a big window where they brought in Beto and some other players and paid almost nothing up front out of necessity. Unfortunately, our owner at the time, his primary source of income was mostly Russian domiciled companies. And well, the war kind of made that a little difficult to access. So they paid nothing up front for Youssef Chermiti. They paid about 12 million euros for him, though. Not a small number, but he was, I wouldn't call him a prodigy, but he was a very well thought of young player. And obviously Sporting have a long list of talented youngsters. He did get some European time as well at Sporting. I've watched him a couple times then, was impressed by some of his rawness. Some of the athleticism's phenomenal, but I think, the first year he came over to Everton, he started out in kind of Premier League 2 and eventually did play a little bit on the first team and in some cup matches. I really thought people expected him to go out on loan in January. That January didn't happen. But last year, where that's the year you're expecting to say, okay, he acclimated. He's comfortable with Everton now. Let's send him on loan somewhere to see how he does. Injuries just killed him. I mean, he had an early injury, a foot injury. So that killed him in the summer window. So he really didn't have the ability to go out anywhere. People thought, okay, well, January now is the time. and he pulls a hamstring and he's out for multiple games then too. So the timing has just been really bad. So I do understand the skepticism looking at the output and saying it's really not there for him. However, we saw him a bit in preseason this year, which is strange because Everton have so many center forwards. They had to play him at left wing. I mean, he looked a little bit like a center forward playing left wing. What, there's some things about this kid that, I mean, it's an opportunity. I would see it from a Rangers standpoint. I don't know if it's going to be a permanent or a potential to be a permanent or a possible option to buy, which would be, I think, amazing if Rangers can get that in there. It's just, it was bought for 12 million euros. If this kid blows up, what's his value going to be on the market?
Yeah.
Obviously, Dan Purdy knows him very well. He was instrumental in bringing him to the club. That was under Thelwell. I'll say this, a couple observations I can make, because I think it's fair to ask the question, Doug, there's been no production. You haven't seen him play much. True. But I did see him play he's been a youth international for Portugal for a while. The one thing you can't deny, and I'm looking at your pros and cons here, excellent physical presence. He's gotten stronger for sure, but I mean, the kid's at least 6'4", graceful. The one thing that just jumps out, he can run in behind. He can hold it up a little bit too. He could even do that as a 19-year-old in the Europa League playing against some big boys from Serie A. His feet are unbelievable. Like, the raw talent's there. So if he goes up for a duel, loses it, it's just laying there. Classic loose ball situation. He is first every single time. Like, it's freakish.
Okay.
That's the thing to me that really stands out. I think also we just haven't seen it that much. I think the technical aptitude is there as well too. I mean, this guy's a Portuguese player. So to have the body control, the agility he has, as well as the pace, he's got every technical and physical tool you could possibly ever want in a center forward. I think his biggest just lack of game time. I mean, I'm not trying to overhype the guy, because you could say all these things. You can watch him on film and think he's fantastic. He's got to prove it, but he's got all the tools, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the second ball thing. I think that shows quickness of mind as well.
Yeah, that's critical, right?
And
we don't know if he quite has
there.
that.
So I mean, I think that's a good sign. You touched on this kind of position there. Obviously, Transmo is predominantly a striker. You mentioned him playing left wing. Fotmob seems to suggest he's also an attacking midfielder. What has been his primary position for Everton? Has it just been up front with occasional forays elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, they've had to fill him in every now and then to get him in, but no, he's a center forward. I mean, he's been put on in kind of a two-striker situation a couple times. Call it dice ball, call it, David Moyes every now and then at the end would send two guys up there, but he didn't really feature necessarily much this past year. But under Dyche, you would throw them both up, him and whether it was Beto or Dominic Calvert-Lewin at the time. But no, I don't think that's, Fotmob is not inaccurate to throw him in there, but you know how those positional things work on some of the sites.
Yeah.
No, he's a center forward to me.
Play
Doug.
20 seconds in a position and that's you appeared there.
Right. Or it's like, okay, they were playing 4-2-3-1. They threw another striker in. We're not going to adjust as to what he does. We'll just look at a heat map. A lot of it's just pulled off the site. No, I think he's a traditional center forward. I mean, he can face a little bit. He can carry the ball. He can run. He's got some moves. He's got a little one-on-one game. So it's not crazy to suggest he could play slightly deeper with someone else, but you're not looking at necessarily a playmaker here. I mean, he can pass, he can receive, he's got some skills, but no, he's a center forward. He strikes the ball incredibly well too. We just haven't seen much of it. You know what I mean? I mean, to me, he's a center forward. He's got some hold-up play. He's got some team kind of abilities. I don't know about combination play. I mean, Rangers are ideally, if they get their stuff together, is going to sit in the final third a lot, especially in the league. I don't know how well he'd do that. He'll definitely be great in transition, though. No problems there.
Good stuff. You touched there on sort of the kind of different tactical sort of outputs that Everton have had under the different managers. What has been the sort of primary system he's played under while he's played for Everton?
Well, I think Sean Dyche has a very particular system in which he would play. I know a lot of people would call it hoofball, but yeah, very much behind the ball. And, when he's played, it's more been Doug either in a cup situation or it's throw him on, we've got to score type situation. So unfortunately, I don't think you could take much from that, really. It was really odd, though, seeing him in the preseason matches and the exhibition matches. Everton were in the summer series with Man U and West Ham and Bournemouth. And, just because Everton had so many strikers. I mean, Everton had 4 center forwards last year. I mean, just kind of madness. But yeah, Broja came in on loan late, and everyone's like, okay, I know you like this player, but do we need? I mean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin wasn't healthy a lot. I get it, but yeah, I mean, he was playing left wing every time he came on in those exhibition matches, and I don't know. At one point, Everton just wanted to put the tallest lineup they possibly could. I mean, it was ridiculous. At one point, they had like Jake O'Brien, who's 6'6", Jared Branthwaite, who's 6'5", Beto. Tierno Barry, who they bought for $30 million. That's the thing, too. You'd think immediately you might look at this guy and be like, oh, man, he'd be a great backup for Beto, right? If he was that good, and I think it's a fair concern to Rangers fans, if he was so good and such a talented young player, why would they spend $30 million on Tierno Barry, who's a 22-year-old? Now, Barry produced in La Liga. He put up 15 goal contributions, and he's a freak athlete. But Chermiti's a good athlete, too. I think it's one of those things where, and I think it's a fair concern for Rangers to say, well, we haven't seen him do it at the senior level consistently. So what makes you think he's just going to come in and bang him in for Rangers? And, clearly it seems like the recruitment team's not satisfied with the center forwards that they've had. So I'm curious, actually, your take on that one, Doug. Like, what's going on with the center forward position? It seems like they got a decent fee to send Igmani to France. He's a good player, goal scorer, maybe a little limited as a player, but what are your thoughts on the other two guys? Sounds like Dessers is out maybe, and Danilo, is he stay? I mean, what's going on there?
I think, well, Danilo, this is the first, probably the longest period we've had in a wee while where he's been fit and playing. Last season, he was fit for a period in the tail end of the season, but he wasn't getting picked. So in terms of like Danilo, he's been here for year and a half and done nothing because he's been injured. And both injuries were contact injuries on the field of play. So it's not that I wouldn't necessarily say that he's injury prone, but he's been just totally taken out from that. And he's struggled so far. But it's difficult to say how much of that is him and how much of that has been just part of the team's overall struggles. He seems very isolated when he's played. And feeding off scraps. The goals he scored have been quite straightforward goals from when the team's kind of played a bit more just direct and more straightforward. So with him, the issue, he'll probably stay just because I think it would be difficult for us to send him anywhere, given, as I say, he's played so little over the last year. Like I say, Dessers has kind of been one foot out the door for a while now. He just doesn't seem to be fancied. A lot of fans are kind of split on him as well. He scores goals. He was the league's top scorer last season, but people think he doesn't score enough. That he should have an extra 10 on top of the 20, and he has missed in key games. He did improve last season. Like I've made a big thing about this season because he's improved across all of his metrics. His conversion rate increased. He was more consistent. His passing was better. He was winning more duels. He missed less major chances. So he got much better. And as I say, he got almost 20 goals last season, over 20 goals this season. But there's just always been that he's not quite. We need that little extra from him, and so that's kind of where people have been. And yeah, he's there was a long protracted thing with AK Athens. It seems like they may or may not still be there. They've since bought a striker, so I don't know if they're going to still be interested. There are some other teams though, and I think the expectation is that he'll probably leave. And as you say, Igaman, we got a good fee for him. A bit of a shame how it ended with the possibility that he's refused to come on in this main game. Because a lot of fans, he was a popular player. Like you say, he shows a lot of promise. I think he'll become a decent player. He got, I think it was 16 goals last season. So, it was a really, really good contribution, especially when you factor in they didn't really play for the first third of the season because we were kind of getting him used to things as this was his first kind of major move. But, we've gone from buying him for 2 million to selling him for 10.5 in 12 months. So, in terms of the trading model aspect, that's good. So yeah, Chermiti and obviously Miovski are the two that are coming in to replace those two. I think Danilo will be the third choice behind that.
Do we think Chermiti will have a legitimate opportunity to play, and how much the Rangers really need to rely on him? I'm curious that myself, because I really believe in this player. I think he's got it. I mean, I really do. I think he could be an unbelievable talent. But if you haven't played that much senior football in the last year or two, it is going to take you a little bit of time to get going. You think now he has been in full training. He has played with the first team in the exhibition matches. Like, he's not going to be completely out of it. I do think there were some questions about, maturity issues, maybe, but I never heard anything substantial about it. I mean, he's a 19-year-old kid. I think the nice part is that you've got someone like Danilo. I don't know what kind of character he has, but it's always good to have someone that kind of at least speaks Portuguese, and some other guys that can help him acclimate a little bit. That's helpful. Like, I think Chermiti really latched onto Beto a bit, I mean, both from Portugal, both center forwards. So I think that was a bit of a comfort thing for him. But I mean, put it this way, I mean, Chermiti has all the reasons in the world to go to Rangers and bang him in. You know what I mean? He's got 1 year left in his contract. Like, if there's ever going to be a time for him to show his value, if he wants to stay with Everton or wants to leave, doesn't matter. If he wants to stay with Rangers, this is it. So he should be incredibly motivated, you would think.
Yeah, I mean, and he should have every chance to. Obviously, he'll be one of 2 new strikers coming in, so the shirt will be there to be won. As I say, Danilo hasn't made it his. I do think Danilo will be good from that perspective. I mean, Danilo speaks 5 languages he speaks, and he's apparently has been very good for that, for multiple players, for that very reason. And he seems like him and Dessers are both kind of quite upbeat and friendly guys. So I definitely think he'll be good, like you say, to help him kind of acclimate and settle in and that kind of thing. But in terms of the shirt, as I say, that striker shirt is there to be won. We're not scoring goals, 3-1 all draws. We've not scored loads in the Champions League qualifiers, apart from that first Victoria Pleasant game, where for that one game everything was perfect.
Yeah. Well, I would say this. I mean, they need a focal point up top too. I mean, I know I have lots of questions about, like I was talking about, I watched the St. Mirren match and was pretty astonished at the lack of control Rangers had at times. Obviously, there's multiple positions involved in that. That's a collective. But, man, it really helps to have someone at the center forward position that is big, can hold up the ball a bit. Chermiti can do those things, I think, but he's not a stiff. He's really athletic, too. So I think you bring in the new striker who's not a small guy either and has shown that he can score and knows the league. God, that's cliche after cliche, right? Wow, geez, I can't believe I'm saying these things. Maybe it's a great opportunity for him. I'll only say this. I mean, this is what I'll say. I mean, I know there's not a big body of work to say this guy's going to be amazing for you, but I swear to you, this kid's talent, though, and potential is outrageous. Not maybe what you want to hear, but it's not just potential like he can't do it. He's at the age and at the level he should be able to do it if he was healthy. So I think it's okay to expect this guy to come in and do very well. I think. I don't know what that means. I don't know how many goals that translates into, Doug. I mean, that's the one thing. Like, scoring goals is not just about having technique and being big, strong, fast. There's more of an art to scoring goals in any league. And since we haven't seen that a lot, seen him in the flow of the match, really, finishing and scoring, it's fair to ask those questions. But man, I mean, he's not a robot too. I mean, come on, the guy's freaking Portuguese. He's got some natural footballing instincts to him as well. We just haven't seen it. But I don't think it's unreasonable to not expect a lot from this guy. Like I said, motivated. He's got all the tools. I'm really excited for him. I hope this deal goes through. I think he's going to be really good for Rangers, but I totally understand the natural skepticism.
Well, that sounds really positive. You touched on sort of hold-up play there. I think that's something, that for us is a key aspect of a striker, particularly for when we play in Europe. And we aren't going to be, as dominant as we will be domestically, or usually are domestically, I should say. Is that an aspect that he's particularly strong with, do you think, from what you've seen?
Yeah, he can battle too a little bit. There may be some inconsistencies. I mean, I'm not going to say he's amazing in the air too. He doesn't always high point the ball, but he'll back into guys. He'll get the early bump in, and he gives himself. What I've seen is, he'll give himself a wide base too, and he's stronger than when he first got there. I mean, I would legitimately say he's put on 10 pounds and probably muscle. Okay. So, I mean, he won't look like some, animal or anything. He's still a footballer, right? He's not an American footballer. It's not, steroids have not been applied yet. But in all seriousness, I mean, he's got a real sturdy base. I mean, look, Scotland, not known for soft men, No. So it'll be physical, but I think he'll be game for that too. I do. Cool. I really think so. And look, the one massive part is too, it's not like he came up in a small club. You know what I mean? It's not like if you've come up and succeeded and broken the first team at Sporting, clearly you've dealt with some pressures. You know what I mean? It's not, I'm not going to compare craziness of supporter bases because Rangers are going to be up there. But keep in mind, Sporting did have fans attacking players in the locker room at one point. So, there's a little bit of a sanity balance there. So you would think a lot of signs point to his ability to be able to handle it, but sometimes you just never know with a young player, but I'm confident he'll at least do fairly well. He could be spectacular though. That's the fun, exciting part about it. But I know there's not a lot to be excited seemingly about what's going on in the pitch, but fingers crossed that, sometimes just putting in different center forwards into the mix can have a trickle down effect of an entire team. And I hope that's the case for Rangers.
Absolutely. And like I say, that's why we're happy to be speaking to yourself and getting that background sort of look, if you like, and not just relying on those numbers, because there's so much more to a player and what you can see as well as read. I was going to ask, and that you're really well suited actually to answer this even fuller than I thought, being familiar with Rangers. So I was going to ask a little bit about, in the short time he's been at Everton, if he'd maybe gelled or managed to get any kind of little partnerships with any players there. And so knowing that you've watched some of our games, I'd maybe tack on to that as well, if you think there's any Rangers players that you could form particularly good partnerships with.
I think it's hard to tell because so many of the guys are new. You've added guys that are wide players that seem like, maybe a little bit more of a traditional winger rather than goal scorers. I mean, he should be able to get on the end of stuff for sure. I think it'd be very interesting to see what does Russell do at the end of the match when he needs the goal. Is that something where, let's assume Chermiti's not the first choice center forward right away. Obviously, I'm sure they're going to allocate money on the new signings, probably going to be slotted in. But if not, I mean, it's just, he's not one of those guys. He's not some big lug you just throw on there to kind of get on the end of headers. You know what I'm saying? And aerials. Yeah. He's more than that, which is nice. He can play in the flow of the match from what I've seen. For me, the one thing I'm not sure what Rangers first team looks like at this point, man. I mean, we've seen a lot of different lineup shifts. And in particular, what I'm a little shocked about is the midfield itself. There's a lot of good, talented players in there, but I don't really know what we're really looking at. I mean, look, Antman seems like the type of guy that he can get wide and get around the outside and serve a ball in a little bit. He's kind of an unpredictable player. I could see him getting on the end of those for sure. Gassama's a little bit different. I think he's a little bit maybe more of a goal scorer, but in transition, that guy is a monster. That I could see, especially in Europe too. Chermiti can run. He'll get into space still. He'll chase balls down and he can play with it too. He's not some big stiff, like I said. So maybe there's some opportunity there. But God, from when I watch Rangers, I mean, some of the passing in the back and in particular the control in the midfield's got to happen. I mean, what good is possession or domination of the ball if you do absolutely nothing with it? And I mean, I'm seeing
100%.
Doug, like passes, control, receiving, right foot, right weight. I mean, it's not there. So I don't know. Sometimes that's uncertainty around a tactical plan. Like some teams look like they're really fast with the ball and it's all pre-planned. It's all designed passing sequences. And I would think Russell's going to have a lot of that stuff in place. We just haven't seen it yet. I don't know. And timing doesn't seem very well tomorrow morning, does it?
No. I mean, you're 100% right. Like the midfield going into the season, I was sitting there looking at our midfield on paper, thinking, I'm really happy with that. It's like a really strong group of players, decent amount of options. And it just hasn't happened. And like I say, I did a deep dive into some of our passing stats and like comparing them to last year and then to our two successful years across like 21, 22. And it's like the amount of passes way up, but then it's also the amount of lateral passes are way up. The amount of back passes are way up, but progressive passing is down. So it's like we're just knocking it around the back and it's not going anywhere. So it never gets to the front players, and that's been the concern. Like I said, with Danilo being isolated, and these two wingers that we've got, like you say, Antman, he got 16, 18 assists. In the Eredivisie last season, a lot of those, like you say, he's a guy that looks like he loves to get to the byline, cut balls back, which something that a striker could really feed on. Gassama can do that as well, or Gassam can do that, but he also loves to drive in on his own, and like you say, he's I don't use the word selfish, but he likes to score goals.
He's a little selfish. I don't think that's a crazy thing. I mean, look,
no.
The critique on him is, gets the head down a little bit sometimes, and
bulldozers.
Yeah, a little bit. He's a young player, but you'd rather
But
have
it's
someone
worked.
like that have he has the physical ability too. Oh yeah, he's been magic. I mean, if there's been one signing, I think that's been perfect from the get-go, it's been him. And I don't think he
Yep.
was brought in to be an automatic starter too. He was not, in my opinion. He was supposed to be, third or fourth winger, massive potential, guy that could play right away. But yeah, he's been really asked to do a lot and has been good. I mean, Doug, it's hard for me to not look at some of these players like Mikey Moore. That's a really good, talented player. I mean, Dow doesn't have to play anymore now, thankfully, probably to some of you. Cameron, I thought had some bright spots, but Asgard, I mean, those guys should be feeding someone who's a center forward with some control. And I don't know. It'd be very interesting to see what happens on the back end, but I do think Chermiti is the type of guy you could put as a focal point to help control a match. Like he's not a young player that you're going to put in that should be physically overwhelmed by anyone. And I think every now and then, you know what I mean? He's not but he's pretty sturdy and pretty strong in addition to be athletic. Like I said, the physical attributes are there. So fingers crossed that he can come in and if Boren comes in and shows some of that too, I don't think Chermiti's going to be overwhelmed by the physicality, and he could play some of that way too. I mean, with the amount of European matches you're going to have with the new format of the Europa League, like you're going to need, those guys are going to have to play all of them.
Yep.
So, look, I think in summary, it's one of those things where you look at the numbers, you got some concerns, like, is this guy really ready to go? Is he really ready to play? I think he'll be fine. I think it will take some acclimation like anyone would to a new club and a new league and a new surroundings. But I know the numbers aren't there, but it's mostly been an injury last year. He's ready to play and ready to go. He should be motivated. I don't think there's quite as much, there's risk with any young player, but I don't think there's quite as much risk maybe as on the surface there would appear to be, Doug. At least that's kind of my summary.
Cool. Well, that sounds good. So we've kind of touched on, I think, a good kind of spread of his skills and things like that. If you had to pick two things, sort of a top two in terms of what was his top two strengths and top two weaknesses, what would you say they were?
Yeah, his agility, his feet. Like guys his size should not have the quickness and the balance and the agility he has. It's unbelievable. Like his physical profile is pretty much if you were to design a center forward that could play and not even necessarily a transition type game, like truly like more of a possession based one, it would be him. And then I just think, his basic technical skills in terms of carrying the ball, receiving, passing, and even striking, it's all there. I think, anyone though who loves this game knows that players aren't robots. So I think the big question marks would probably be the secondary one is how does that translate now? He's not played a lot of senior football. I know a lot of guys that look phenomenal like that on the training pitch or just physically look great. And what matters is what do you do in the flow of the game? And he is a natural footballer. It's not like he's going to do stuff that you're like, what the heck? Like he won't look maybe as raw as some others might. But you just never know until you throw them in the mix. And I think that's the risk here. It's a dare to be great situation. It's high risk. I'd say more medium risk than people think and medium to high reward, in my opinion. So, but dude, I'm telling you, like there are times and moments you've seen in very small glimpses and think, wow, like this guy could be outstanding. And I'm curious, how Everton views him, how they view the loan. Like most loans are one of two things. It's to restore value for a sale, or it's to put him out, see him develop. Now that can change obviously halfway through the loan. And I think the terms of the deal will be interested. I will say this, man, like this is the right time to buy a talent like this though. You know what I mean? Like for cheap. So if there's an option to buy it all for Rangers, that's a coup. I mean, I that would be a big deal. I would think. And I will say this, the last thing I'll say here is Thelwell and Purdy combined, one thing that both of them were really good at, Dan in particular, and maybe he learned that a little bit for some of his previous tenures. He's been with a lot of guys like Marcel Brands at Everton, like the personal touches, like the building of relationships with players, because who the heck would want to come to Everton that had no money, no prospects, looked like they were going to be in relegation battles, to be able to sell a talented youngster like this with no money up front to Sporting. So Sporting's not like, please leave. Is something. So clearly there's a relationship there. So that may be a factor. To say, hey, we believed in you then. We believe in you now. And maybe the guys currently at Everton like, I'm not seeing it here. We just bought a young player, Barry, who's 22. We have Beto. Like, we don't necessarily need this guy. We're not in Europe. You don't need more than 2 strikers for one position. Maybe they would be willing to let him go. And his market value is probably the lowest, in theory, I think it's ever going to be. Because I think at a minimum, this guy's a talent, assuming freak injuries don't happen again. He would do fine in certain leagues. So, man, that would be really exciting to me.
Yeah.
For Rangers,
yeah.
not for Everton.
I was going to say, I mean, on the point of Everton, like in terms of the broader fan base, are they going to be sad to? You mentioned that I didn't realize that he only had the year left on his contract. So, like you say, that'll leave him at an interesting point, depending on what the
in the summer
the deal is. Do you think would are fans that attached to him? Would they be happy to see him come back, or would it be a bit more of a meh because he's not played so much? Or...
I think it's one where you've seen a couple glimpses and you think, wow, this guy's a real talent, but we don't know him very well. Just hasn't really had the opportunities. And I'll say this too, Doug. I don't know if he would have had the opportunities. I think the intent was to send him on loan. But when you have an injury in the window in the summer, can't send him on loan. And then you have an injury in the winter window, exactly when you're going to send him on loan, it kills the kid. And I feel bad for him genuinely about that. But that was more bad luck than anything. So, no, I think it will be, a lot of Everton fans really kind of look negatively in the job Thelwell did. Now I think they look back on it and say, wow, how the heck did we even get some of the talents they did, knowing that they had no money and were just scraps and, blah, blah, blah. Not every football fan has the inside football look that some of us have. So, recruitment's a little more tricky than people think. So I think eventually things will look more fondly on Thelwell. But I think even at the time, it's like, wow, this is a really young, talented player. Why are we moving for this guy? Don't we have other needs? So it was kind of a strange transfer, I guess, in a little bit, but I think opportunity knocked. There was no money up front. No, but I will say this. If he went to Rangers and started banging him in, people would be like, what the heck? Yeah, exactly. And I do think there's a small subset of people that have seen him that's like, wow, this guy is really talented. Like, but more out of disappointment. It's like, it just wasn't healthy. The opportunity's been there and hasn't happened, but it is what it is. I think it's a massive opportunity for Rangers. It'd be very interesting in the terms of the deal.
Cool. Well, I mean, like you say, I think you've definitely made it sound like an exciting prospect, and if he comes in, stays fit, and gets to play, then hopefully that turns out to be the case, and there'll be nothing better, as you say, to see him bang the goals in.
And look, Doug, if I didn't think he was any good, I'd tell you. I'm not shy to necessarily give my opinions unless it conflicts with my other professional organization, which, every now and then that does happen. But in this case, it doesn't. So, I'm really positive on him. I think he's talented. I just think he needs the opportunity.
Perfect. So just before I let you go, then one question I like to sort of throw at people when I do these type of interviews, and I think you'll actually be better placed than most to answer it. Just because I like to get this sort of outside Rangers perspective. If Everton were to sign a Rangers player tomorrow, which player would you want it to be?
Oh.
If any, I'll give you the I don't want any of them option as well.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I mean, some of these guys are on loan right now, so it's hard to tell. But, it's interesting. They were linked to a couple. Diamande was one they were linked to. He's a really unique player, so it's very odd to watch the way he carries the ball and some of the stuff.
Diplomatic way to say it.
Well, no, I mean, I think he's good, but I don't think like the Premier League's not the best necessarily league for him. I don't know. That's a great question. Obviously, Mikey Moore is not necessarily a permanent and probably not an option. He might be the one. Man, I don't know. That's a tough call. I could tell you some of the guys I wouldn't. Now, you know what? I'll tell you what, Gassam is kind of interesting. Like, you kind of wonder what he turns into because he kind of has the build and some of the ability to play at that really high level. It's funny. I actually really liked Matondo at one point. What can we talk? What is going on with him?
Well, he had so much potential, and he's not been terrible when he's played, but he's also not. Well, he's occasionally been good. Yeah, he's clearly just not got the body for it. Kind of similar to what you said about Chermiti as well, and that there's been times where we were going to hopefully try and put him on loan, and then he's got injured. So I mean, I think he's still injured at the moment. And obviously we're hoping to try and get rid of him this window. But yeah, I mean that's been the story of his career. He's had bursts where he's done okay. He's gotten some goals and assists here, and he got a famous great goal against Celtic to get us a draw in one of the Old Firm matches. And that'll probably ultimately be his legacy, that goal, because he's not really done an awful lot else. But yeah, he was one of those players who came in, young guy, a lot of excitement around him, but like I say, injuries has just meant it hasn't happened.
I think Raskin's a pretty good player. I'll say this though, ironically, and this is very apropos for the conversation. If Chermiti was at Rangers on a permanent, he would be the one.
Mm.
I mean, in all honesty, just because I feel like he's got kind of the base potential that could really take off. I don't know. It's very, I don't mean to overhype the guy. I do really like him, but it's just hard for any club to find a player with kind of his tool set. And there's such an unknown if he can really translate that into consistent senior football production. We just haven't seen it, but man, Doug, you see guys like this. There just aren't many guys that have his feet, have his fluidity, his size, and glimpses of technical ability. They're just not guys that are look, the guy was the center forward for Portuguese U20, U21 teams for a reason. Like that's not a coincidence. You know what I mean? Like that's not nothing. And for a guy that was largely unproven at age 19 to command a $12 million fee, not dollar. Well, there you go. There's the American in me kind of hanging out. 12 million euro fee. Now, granted, a lot of it was because there was no money up front, but like to demand that kind of fee, that's no joke. So like this guy, I mean, you could argue Mikey Moore in terms of potential, I guess, but like he's going to be right behind him in terms of pure talent. I think in terms of raw talent. So I don't know. I'm just excited for you guys. Like you need to start going. You know what I mean? Like it's not been fun to watch, and I have been watching, and I do want to see Rangers do well. Truly, we talked a little off air about most Americans I think feel somewhat fondly for Rangers. Some of the past teams are really fun and exciting as well too. So I'd like to see it happen, and it'd just be very interesting to see if Chermiti can play a role in that. Boy, can you ever remember a team with so much turnover, potentially center forward, like in like the last week or 2 weeks of a window? I mean, it's a little risky, but I guess the performances haven't really indicated there's much risk at all, but you're getting rid of a lot of production.
Well, that's it. I mean, we sort of, the window started well, bringing in loads of players. So we just had this blank spot for about 2 weeks of doing nothing, and then it's all kicking off again now for the last few days. And like say, Eggman and Dessers, if they go, that's the best part of 40 goals, and the majority of our goal tally last season. Really, there wasn't. I don't think any other player got over 10 actually. If they did, it wasn't many. So, like Gassam is chipping in so far, but James Tavernier still our second top scorer year after year. He still chips in. So,
what is going on with there? I feel like I know I'm taking this conversation in a different direction, but I'm curious of my own edification. Like, what is there's like a love-hate thing with him right now? I mean, he obviously still strikes the ball very well, but he doesn't quite look like the fluid player I remember seeing. So, what's going on there? Is that maybe a mismatch of styles with Martin, or?
Maybe. I think he's just getting old though. Just getting older. He's lost a bit of pace. His concentration's not as good as it was. He makes more mistakes now defensively. And unfortunately for Tavernier, like I might like hands up. I'm like the founder of the James Tavernier fan club, if there was one. He's been my favorite player for a long time. But he's been at the club for a long time. This is his 10th year now. And unfortunately for him, while he, in my opinion, has been one of the best players we've had, in fact, well, in my opinion, he is the best player of that 10 years and probably the 10 years before. He's been here at a time when Rangers have not won things, and thusly, there's a friction there with part of the fan base, and especially so as being captain as well. So he's at the point now as well that he's also tied with so much baggage of the team not succeeding at losing things, and so a lot of people have wanted him gone for the last 2 seasons, but see, he keeps coming back. Clement started to kind of phase him out a little bit last year, but then the 2 players that were the Sterling and Caston Virgil, who had on loan, both got injured, so Tavernier came back in and again played more minutes than anyone except Jeffy. But this season, Martin does seem to be, as much as he's kept him as captain, he does seem to be sort of really following through on that sort of idea of phasing him out. But Once again, the recruitment's not quite been there. Aaron's is not kicking on at the moment. So again, he's coming back into the team. He's getting games. He's coming in off the bench and scoring goals that are keeping us these points, getting us these points. He set up the goal against St. Mirren from the corner. So he's still chipping away, still contributing. But yeah, I think this season it looks like, and there is rumours that he's been told he can go by Martin. This apparent list of Dessers, Tavernier, Raskin. I think there was another name on it as well that apparently have been recently told that they can go, and that's all alongside these rumours that the dressing room's unhappy, and some of these senior players are unhappy. So it'll be interesting to see over the next sort of 2 days. You know, Raskin's kind of the big one that everyone's talking about because obviously he's viewed as our best player, and probably our most high value asset now as well. So we're kind of interested to see what'll happen with that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Tav's still there. And if he is, as I say, I think it's likely he'll probably still be confined to the bench for most of the time. So we'll see what happens with that.
I was a little surprised that Vaclav didn't kind of come back on loan. I wonder if that's still a possibility again. I mean, he's not playing. I mean, I was very impressed with him when I watched Rangers last year. I mean, I get he's getting a little bit long in the tooth, but like as a player that can come in right away, you know, he's got some physicality to it. He can kind of control the game a little bit, even though he's from the right side. And the guy scored. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I put in 12 goals for you guys in the league. Wow, that's a big number from a wide player. I know it's Rangers.
Yeah.
Score a lot, but like, boy, that would be nice, right? I guess they figure Antman could be very good too, and maybe it's just a different team, you know, creation more from wide places rather than cutting into score. But like, God, we just need some more just kind of robust guys to get on the ball and control matches.
And we could use the experience as well. I think that's the big thing missing from the team because I think one of the main reasons, well, two main reasons he's not come in was initially what was it Wolfsburg is that were asking for. They were looking for about 9+ million for him initially. I think that's come down a little bit because they've not been able to sell him.
They're not getting that. He's 27 and he's 28 in October, November. Now he does have 2 years left, so I mean you could still do a loan. I mean I don't know.
But yeah, so I think that puts off. But then the other thing is it's very clear from the players we brought in that they're looking at young players. The only older one we brought in really has been Joe Rothwell, and as I say, everyone else has been Aaron's is 25, so he's not a young player per se, but you know, a lot of them are 21, 22. Mikey Moore's obviously just turned 18. So it is a sort of younger base. I think Aman's 23, I think. So they're quite clearly looking at that younger thing, and that will probably tie into the hope that they come in and do well. We could flip them, you know, maybe Everton are buying Gassam in 12 months time for 10 million. That would suit everybody.
Well, I'd hope you think he's going to be more than that, but then again, you just had the Bohan coming in. I mean, he's 26, so it's like maybe
there's experience.
Well, maybe that's what matters at the end of the window. Maybe that's the idea. You know, try and find value. I mean, to me, recruitment philosophy is there's growth. You know what I mean? If you really want to elevate your team, getting players, trying to keep the good ones, sell the other ones, whatever. And then there's value, you know, and there's guys out there, especially at the end of the window, that when loans and things like that matter, when you find out someone's out of the first team, that's when the more senior players want to leave. Rangers is a good destination. You know, I mean, they've got European opportunities too. You know, it's a team that on paper looks like they should be pretty good. And who the heck wouldn't want to play in front of that crowd? Well, if you're playing well, who the heck wouldn't want to play in front of the crowd? But I mean, there are very few atmospheres like that in world football. I mean, I don't know, man. I just fingers crossed. I mean, like I said, I believe in Dan Purdy a lot. I think he's a tremendous head of recruitment. I think Kevin's done a good job giving him opportunities. I know he hasn't been there for very long, but you know, with their connections and relationships out there, you would hope that there might be a diamond or two that Rangers can pull in, maybe more senior, older, more mature players that could make all the difference. I would anticipate you guys are still going to be very active in the next week.
Yeah, definitely. I think
next couple days.
Yeah, I definitely think so. We still need. I mean, we've only got one. We've literally only got one left back at the moment, and again, he's in his 20s. I think he's 21, 19, 20, something in that region. So you know, we need a left back. I would probably still bring in some more midfielders. and maybe another where we need a left side centre back. So
Yeah,
there's
the
plenty.
center backs to me is still a bit of a concern that Sutar has to play as much as he still does. I mean, if you're going to dominate the ball and get on it and play up higher, I don't think he's the best profile for that. And I think
Yep.
Fernandez, a lot of questions still, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's only really played. He played a little bit in the friendlies, but other than that, he's only played in Alloa, and he looked okay. He's absolutely massive. He like towers over like everybody. So I think he could be good aerially. Obviously, he scored a header in that game, so I think there's something there. But yeah, some fans are a little concerned because he's played so few minutes. But yeah, we are linked with our left-sided centre back at the moment, so. As I say, if we can get something in there to add a bit more competition, that'll be good. And yeah, like I say, I think some of these players that are a little bit more experienced, that a little bit older, I think will help as well, because there are so many young players there now who, particularly a lot of them coming from the lower leagues in England, haven't really necessarily played under that kind of pressure with those types of fans and those types of demands. Obviously, Europe is a step up for a lot of them.
For sure.
So there's a lot there to do, but like you say, I think that's what we can offer, sort of maybe older players, whether they're from down south or from the continent or wherever, who maybe haven't had the opportunities to play in Europe as frequently, or maybe have the opportunities to win trophies. We can offer that kind of opportunity at least. And I know that, we've gotten some really good older players over the years, like Jermaine Defoe, for example, who've come in and really taken to the club and taken to that aim. So yeah, some more like of that ilk would be welcome.
Russell just needs to get it right. I mean, the nice part is that this ownership group has shown that they are not afraid, if the manager's not doing it, to make a move. So, but either way, hey, I mean, I'll be watching and rooting for you guys for sure, Doug.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Well, I think we've covered most bases there, so it just leaves me to thank you very much, Ryan, for coming on and getting up early on your weekend to spend some time with us. Do you want to just plug anything you've got going on online at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, check out the Blue Frontier. We do mostly Everton stuff, but we did a Premier League preview, and the one thing we did this summer is we went through just an unbelievable slew of names. I put on my scout recruitment hat, went through some data, and did some other stuff. And I mean, we're talking literally the center mid, defensive mid, we went through something like 77 names. So if there's a player that's moving in the window, we probably talked about him. So check it out if you'd like. It's not for everyone. It's a little different. Doug, you give me an idea that you kind of like getting into some of the numbers. We do too. So if you want to check it out, great. Either way, happy to be here. Thanks a lot for the invite. I'd always get up in the morning for you guys.
So thanks very much. Yeah, definitely give it a go, guys. I listened to one of the episodes this morning. It's really good stuff, particularly if you like Everton. I know a lot of fans do have a soft spot for them via David Moyes. That was certainly how I developed my soft spot for Everton back in the day. So it's good to see him back at the club, and an amazing new stadium as well. I'm really keen to go down and potentially get a chance to visit that as well. It looks really nice. I think you've got a really nice. It doesn't look as like soulless and bowly as a lot of modern stadiums can do. It's got a little bit of the brick stuff as well, which obviously reminds me a little bit of Ibrox, so that's a plus for me. But yeah, it looks like a really nice stadium to visit. So
yeah, that was the design. So credit American design that too, which is interesting. That was the idea. Put it as close to the pitch as possible, pure footballing place. So I'm excited to go over there too. I haven't yet. It's only been a couple games in my defense, but yeah, I'm excited as well.
I think they can let you off.
Maybe.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you, everyone, for watching tonight. As I say, lots of really good stuff we've learned there about Youssef Chermiti. Hopefully, as I say, we'll find out more in the coming days, obviously, if he does indeed sign and what the structure of that deal is. And I'm sure we'll probably revisit Ryan at some point about him, depending on how things go. And we can see how, as I say, fingers crossed, he does kick on the way Ryan thinks he can. Just remind all the guys, if you've enjoyed this video, we've got plenty of other content on the channel. We do pre and post match videos. We'll have pre and post match stuff for the Celtic game tomorrow, and then we'll are doing a live transfer special on Monday night, where we'll be basically live from I think about 7 o'clock all the way through to the close of the window at 11 o'clock, and probably a bit after to talk about any signings or lack thereof. Although I think, as Ryan suggested, we will probably be busy. And after that, at some point, I will be doing my traditional squad review once the window is shut as well. So I hope you guys look forward to that. Like and subscribe below, click the notification button, and that will tell you when all that lovely content comes out. Check out Ryan's channel, and it just leaves me to say thank you for watching. And do remember that every night it's a Rangers journal night. Thank you. Good night.